I'm delighted to be joined by Phil Kouffman, president of Phil Kouffman Builder, who designs beautiful custom homes. Phil, it's always a pleasure to be with you.
Thank you, Jeff. It's good to be here.
Great. Phil, your company has a rich heritage. Tell us about that history and what you're most proud of.
Well, my father brought the family out to the Hamptons in 1959 when we were very little kids. And he was an entrepreneur, had a very interesting background, which he never talked about, but we did find out about it. And at some point, he decided he was going to become a builder. So he learned from the seat of his pants, and he had some investments, and they had some commercial projects had to be built. So he decided to be the builder.
Huh.
That was in 1960. He started the business. I joined him in 1977 when I was in my mid-20s, and I immediately gravitated towards the business. I just immediately fell in love with it, loved the idea of building spectacular, unique homes for individuals who were all very different themselves.
Right.
And my dad came from the Depression era, and he was very conservative, and he taught the family, the siblings, certain basic fundamentals in life that he said were to be applied in the way you do business and the way you live your life.
Right. Right.
And some of those things were your word is your bond. In fact, when I started with my father, and a few years later, my brother, who was an attorney, came to our office and asked us, well, let me look at your contracts. Dad and I looked at each other and said, what contracts? Because we never did anything. We did everything with a handshake.
Wow.
And that's the way we were taught to behave and operate in our lives, which was a natural progression to turn it into and use it in the business, which worked very, very well.
Sure. Your word is your bond.
Yes.
Few things more important than that.
Yes, it's true.
Yeah.
You know, he also taught me some of the basics. It's like building a house, fundamentals. If you don't get the foundation right, whether you're building a house or building your life, by the time you get to the end, things are a bit askew and very difficult to correct.
Yeah, you can build
get it right the first time.
Yeah, you can build a big structure in a business or anything else, like you can build a big house. But like you say, if the foundation is not solid, it's not going to be a solid structure.
Absolutely.
Tell me a little bit more about what's important to you as a leader. Your word is very important to you. That's one of the things I've always enjoyed. Your integrity and straightforwardness really comes through. What are some of the other things that are important to you as a leader?
Well, you know, it's all about how you treat others, because you would like to be treated in the same way, with tremendous respect and dignity. And as a leader, I have found that my employees or my subcontractors or the people that I do business with recognize that I'm as careful to take care of their needs and their feelings as my own. Right. And I've always been a team member and found that to be very effective. And I have everybody working together in the same common goal. And I can sweep the floors, I can clean up a job site just as well as anybody else today, as I did when I was in my teenager years.
Yeah.
And you know, everybody appreciates the fact that you're just not speaking from the top down, that you're really involved in their feelings and emotions and what's important to them as well as individuals. Because of course, I've always believed if they're happy and enjoy what they do, it's good for everybody.
Sure. And on many occasions, I've heard you talk about your respect, not only for your employees, but for their families. and for the whole person. And that's something that that's so important, and it's not as common as we might like.
I would agree with you, but I have found it easier to be open and honest and caring, and because people can read that quite easily, and they become available to speak to you in a more honest and direct way as well.
Yes, yes, exactly. You're a very active guy, Phil, and you once told me that martial arts has been actually very helpful to you as a leader. Tell
Yeah.
us more about that.
Well, I remember when I walked into a dojo when I was 45 years old, and everybody looked at me and said, "Who is this old guy? What is he doing here?" But I knew it was something that I had been thinking about doing for many years, but never had the opportunity. And the thing about martial arts is that it teaches you everything about who you are,
Mm,
who you're not, that egos get in the way of people, unfortunately. And
mm,
when you go into the dojo, when you go onto the mat, you're supposed to wipe out all your ego and you are completely present.
mm,
And the nice thing about martial arts, as you get up in rank and you become a black belt plus, they call you sensei. But the
mm.
beautiful word about sensei, the Japanese word about sensei, means both teacher and student.
Wow.
So you're always learning, no matter how good you think you are in your trade. There's always something to learn and to do better and to modify.
Yeah.
And I have found it probably was the best thing that ever happened to me in terms of internal growth.
Wow, boy, there's so much in there that I appreciate, and that resonates. Your comment about leaving your ego at the door. As you know, we have group norms for our group, and at every meeting we talk about those norms. And one of them, as you know, is checking your ego at the door. And another one relates to being fully present when you're in the meeting, being
Yes.
fully present. And then the last thing that you mentioned that very much permeates the way we operate in Vistage and our group is to be both a student and a teacher, to be learning and to not be afraid to teach others.
Yes.
Gosh, those are lots of great lessons there. Lots of great lessons there.
Thank
Phil,
you.
what led you to join Vistage?
I have been searching really since a very young age because of my background, what my father had brought into the family and into the business, is that I had met many, many very successful individuals over the years. I used to call them old timers. And the reason I'm smiling is because I realize now I'm the old timer.
You and me both. You and me both.
But the old timers had so much wisdom and empathy and appreciation from where they came from to how successful they became. And that was something that I have been yearning for all my life, to be successful, not necessarily monetarily, but to be really good at what you do.
Mm-hmm.
And it took a lot of time and energy, and it takes a lot of time and energy to get to that point. But I realized that I've been searching for so many years, and I ran my father's business for about 25 years. Always found to be somewhat frustrating because I never had the formal education of running a big corporation.
Mm.
And like many small businesses, you have to learn from the seat of your pants.
Mm.
And I've worked very hard, but always recognized there was something missing. I couldn't quite put the puzzle together.
Right.
When I came to Vistage, it was the one thing that I'd been searching for a long time.
Yeah.
And that's having a group of people exactly with the same similar situations that I come from. But it's an open, honest, safe place to discuss all the issues that you're looking for answers for. And everybody has a different perspective, but we all are in the same boat. And being open and being able to be honest and express your fears and your positive and negative aspects of either your personality and or your business, everybody participates. And I've gained volumes of information in an incredibly short period of time.
Yeah, yes, you have. And one thing that has impressed me from the beginning, Vistage has a platform with lots of moving parts, and you, more than most, have leveraged every bit of that platform, the group meetings, the issue processing that happens at the group meetings, the one-to-one coaching, the webinars, the networks, all in search of opportunities to learn different perspectives. And the rapid growth and improvement that you've experienced in a short time, I think, is really a tribute to you're taking hold of it all. Seize the day, carpe diem. You've done that in a big way.
Well, I would say, as I said, I've been searching and doing this business for 46 years, and I don't have a lot of time to waste anymore. And so I have to get to the bottom line quickly.
Sure. No, the sense of urgency is a good thing.
Yes.
What's been your let's focus on the peer group experience itself. What have been your biggest takeaways from that?
I have found many dear, close friends who are very similar to me in the aspect that they recognize they don't have all the information and they're not afraid to talk about it, because we're all looking for information that can be very helpful to us. And everybody comes from different backgrounds, different businesses, but very similar issues.
Yes.
And we talk a lot about family, which is extremely important. And everybody has different stories, good, bad, and everything in between. And you find there's an empathy with everybody because they're open without fear of being embarrassed or having that information taken and used against them.
Yes.
And everybody is really quite ready to be open and discuss things. Egos are really been removed from this group, and it's the fastest way that I've learned about anything in life.
Yes. Thank you for sharing that, Phil. And let's go a little deeper on something that you alluded. What's been the impact of Vistage on your leadership, both personally and professionally?
I have honed in on certain specific areas that I know need to be addressed and come up with a solution. And I've been given so many different material and ideas with the webinars and the speakers, and that I've been able to elicit a lot of good information that I can apply practically immediately.
Right.
I'll learn something in one of our sessions, and before I leave that session, I'm already thinking how to apply it as soon as I get back to the office. Yes. And it's been very, very helpful to me.
Yes. And you have a remarkable ability for follow through. And I think that's been another reason why you've made some really significant improvements in a very short period of time, is that you don't let grass grow under your feet to implement things, but you take a hold of things and take action, which I love. One last question before my closing question, which I'm going to get back to, something that you love very much, but which is tennis. But before we get there, what value do you receive from the one-to-one executive coaching in Vistage?
Sometimes when we're in the group session, we don't have the full focus of yourself and trying to get to a specific answer or direction. And the one-on-ones help me really elaborate in depth. And it also gives me time to have thought about things to be able to articulate clearly with you in terms of, discussing those items.
Yeah. Thank you, Phil. Thank you, Phil. So something else that you love, tennis. You're not only active in martial arts, but you're active in tennis. What do people underestimate about Phil Kouffman on the court?
Well, that's a good question. I will tell you, I've been playing tennis since I was a little kid. So it's been about 67 years since I've been playing tennis and still learning.
Yes.
But a couple of funny things that I always have found amazing. I happen to be a lefty.
Ah.
And lefties are difficult to play against. And that's what most righties say. But
Yeah.
you know, I'll play with fellas for 10, 15 years. And at some point during that time, they turn to me and they go, "Oh, when did you become a lefty?" Which I find amazing. So every time they think they're hitting to my backhand, it's to my forehand. So,
Yeah.
so that works out well. But the tennis, again, I was very lucky. I grew up in a tennis environment, and really it taught you etiquette. It taught you a lot about people, who you are yourself, how you should behave. And one of the things that my dad, who's probably the sweetest guy I ever met and had zero ego, I haven't found that in anybody yet, including myself, that you always compliment somebody. Because when somebody does something unique or better, you have to appreciate it. So when I play tennis, one of the things is, and doubles is my game, I have a great relationship with my partner that we talk about during the match for strategy. But as important, I always compliment my opponents, which really surprises them. But the fact of the matter is, when they have a great shot, you have to let them know it was a great shot.
Yeah. I wonder if your complimentary manner with your opponents gets inside their head sometimes.
100%. 100%.
Yeah. You know, I think there's a life lesson in there, and there's a business lesson. In the life lesson, there's a lot to be said for etiquette. I have found you from my very first conversation to be a true gentleman, and not in a sappy way, but just an authentic respecter of people. And the business lesson, it seems to me, is learning from our competitors. Just like we can learn from a competitor on the court, we can learn from competitors in the marketplace too, all in the interest of becoming better leaders. So that's a great lesson to end on. Phil Kouffman, president of Phil Kouffman Builder, who builds spectacular custom homes all across Long Island, and most especially on the East End. Phil, thank you so much for your time, for sharing your wisdom and your insights and your humor.
My pleasure. Good speaking to you, Jeff.
Okay, Phil.